What if the most dangerous person in your life wasn't a stranger you passed on the street, but the man who watched you pull into your driveway every single night? What if evil had been living across from you for years, and you never knew? This is a true crime story about a perfect neighborhood, a vanishing man, and a killer hiding behind the most ordinary face you've ever seen. In a small, quiet town in America, there was a neighborhood that looked like it came straight out of a postcard. The lawns were trimmed, the streets were safe. Families took evening walks, kids played outside, and neighbors borrowed sugar from each other without thinking twice. It was the kind of place where people moved to escape the chaos of the world. Nobody expected the chaos to already be there, waiting. Then one warm afternoon, a young woman named Emma arrived with a moving truck and a fresh start. She had just landed a new job, left behind a difficult chapter of her life, and was ready to begin again. When she stepped out of that truck and looked around at the peaceful street, she felt something she hadn't felt in a long time: hope. But almost immediately, she noticed the house directly across from hers. It was older than the others, the paint was faded, the curtains always drawn, and the yard just slightly more neglected than everything around it. And the man who lived there, his name was Mark, stood on the porch that first evening and watched Emma unload her boxes without saying a single word, no wave, no nod, just watching. Emma brushed it off. Maybe he was shy. Maybe he just valued his privacy. She had no reason to think anything more of it, but as the days passed, she began to notice things she couldn't ignore. Mark never left during normal hours. He didn't go to work in the morning like everyone else. His lights would switch on at 2 a.m. and stay on until sunrise. He received no visitors, made no conversation. And every time Emma glanced out her window at night, he seemed to already be outside, standing in the dark, perfectly still, like a man with something very heavy on his mind. Then came the sounds. Late one night, Emma was jolted awake by a deep scraping noise coming from across the street, like something heavy being dragged across a floor. Then a loud bang, then silence. She went to her window and saw Mark at the back of his house, hauling a large, dark bag toward his car. His movements were fast and nervous. He kept looking around, left, right, behind him, like a man who knew what he was doing was wrong. Emma's heart pounded. But she told herself she hadn't actually seen anything. She told herself there was a reasonable explanation. She went back to bed. 3 days later, everything changed. A man from the neighborhood, a quiet, well-liked father of two, was reported missing. He had been seen walking near his home in the evening and then simply vanished. No signs of struggle in his house, no unusual activity on his bank account, no goodbye to his family. He was just gone. The town was shaken. Police launched an investigation immediately. Officers went door to door, asking questions, collecting information, trying to piece together the last known movements of the missing man. When they arrived at Mark's door, the difference in his reaction compared to every other neighbor was immediate and unmistakable. He was nervous before they even spoke. His eyes darted. His jaw was tight. When they asked him simple questions, "Did you see anything? Do you know this man? When did you last go outside?" his answers were slow, inconsistent, and full of pauses that lasted just a second too long. The officers noted everything. Within 48 hours, police had gathered enough to move forward. A judge signed a search warrant. A team arrived at Mark's home early in the morning, and what they discovered inside would make national headlines before the day was over. In the basement, behind a locked door that Mark had tried to claim led to nothing important, investigators found evidence that directly tied him to the missing man. Physical evidence. The kind that doesn't lie. The kind that tells a story no lawyer can easily undo. Mark was handcuffed on his own front porch and placed into the back of a police car as his. Neighbors watched from there, doorways in stunned silence. Emma stood at her window, her hand pressed against the glass, staring at the house she had looked at every single day since she moved in. The house that had been hiding a nightmare the whole time. The neighborhood changed after that. Not the houses, not the streets, but the feeling. That invisible sense of safety that everyone had taken for granted was gone, because the truth had revealed itself in the most disturbing way possible. Mark didn't look dangerous. He didn't fit the picture people paint in their heads when they think of a killer. He was quiet. He kept to himself. He was just the neighbor. And that is the most unsettling lesson of this entire story. Evil rarely announces itself. It doesn't always come with warning signs you can easily read. Sometimes it lives in the house right across from yours, with the curtains drawn and the lights off, doing the unthinkable while the rest of the world sleeps. Trust your instincts. Pay attention to what feels wrong. And remember, silence is not always peace. Sometimes silence is just a very good cover. This was The Killer Neighbor.